China's diplomacy this week tells a clear story. Beijing is working on two very different fronts, managing tensions in East Asia while carefully rebuilding bridges in Europe. Let's start in East Asia, where Chinese President Xi Jinping met South Korean President Myung for the second time in just 2 months. This latest summit took place in Beijing during Li's first visit to China since taking office, and the first by any South Korean president since 2019. The timing matters. South Korea is walking a tightrope. China is its largest trading partner, its biggest export market, and a crucial source of imports. At the same time, Seoul is a treaty ally of the United States and increasingly aligned with Japan. Two countries whose relations with Beijing have sharply deteriorated.
很高兴在北京同李在明总统先生见面，欢迎你对中国进行国事访问。新年伊始，谨向你和韩国人民致以诚挚祝福。朋友越走越近，邻居越走越亲。作为朋友和邻居，中韩应该多走动，常来往，勤沟通。中方愿同韩方一道，牢牢把握友好合作方向，秉持互利共赢宗旨，推动中韩战略合作伙伴关系沿着健康轨道迈进，切实增进两国人民福祉，为地区乃至世界和平发展。
시진핑 주석님 새해를 맞이해서 우리 중국 인민 여러분 모두의 행복과 건강을 기원합니다. 2달 전 경주에서 만나고 한중 관계의 미래에 대한 깊은 논의를 한 지가 이제 겨우 2달인데 아주 오랫동안 못 만난 분들을 만난 것처럼 참으로 반갑습니다. 지난 수천 년간 한중 양국은 이웃 국가로서 우호적인 관계를 맺어왔고 이제 시대의 흐름과 변화에 발맞춰서 주석님과 함께 한중 관계 발전의 새로운 국면을 열어가고 싶습니다.
So, why does Seoul still need China? Money is one reason. China absorbs a third of South Korea's chip exports and supplies nearly half of its rare earth minerals, which are essential for semiconductors. Beijing is also South Korea's largest source of tourists, and Chinese tech firms like Huawei are positioning themselves as alternatives to US suppliers. But security matters just as much. China remains the only country with real leverage over North Korea. That reality was underlined when Pyongyang fired hypersonic missiles just hours before Li left for Beijing. At the summit, Li pressed Xi to help bring North Korea back to dialogue, a task Washington and Tokyo cannot manage alone. The tone was warm. Xi spoke of friendship, history, and frequent communication. Li echoed the sentiment, but beneath the smiles, the hard issues were largely avoided. Taiwan, China's pressure in the South China Sea, and Beijing's activities in the Yellow Sea. This was deliberate. Seoul wants stability, not confrontation. But the limits are clear. South Korea hosts nearly 28,500 US troops. It's expanding military cooperation with Washington and recently agreed to work with the US on nuclear-powered submarines. No amount of economic cooperation with China can replace that security umbrella. South Korea is hedging, engaging China economically while anchoring itself militarily to the US. Now shift west, to Europe, and a very different kind of relationship. When Xi met Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin in Beijing, the atmosphere was far less tense and far more strategic. Ireland has quietly become one of China's most natural partners in Europe, not because of ideology, but because of economic fit. Ireland excels in high-value manufacturing, especially electronics and pharmaceuticals. In 2024 alone, it exported nearly $5 billion in electrical machinery and $2.3 billion in pharmaceuticals to China. These are precisely the sectors Beijing wants to strengthen as it pushes innovation, digital infrastructure, and healthcare upgrades under its new 5-year plan. This is not dependency, it's complementarity. Ireland brings specialized high-end products developed within global value chains. China brings scale, demand, and application. Each gets what it needs without strategic friction. There's also history at play. She highlighted that both China and Ireland emerged from struggles for independence and modernized through long, patient development. That shared experience underpins the emphasis on mutual respect and long-term cooperation. Ireland's importance goes beyond trade. As an EU member and a future holder of the EU's rotating presidency in 2026, Ireland is well placed to keep China-EU dialogue alive at a time of growing mistrust between Brussels and Beijing. Ireland supports multilateralism, backs the UN system, and maintains an open, rules-based outlook, qualities China now values deeply in Europe. Put together, the contrast is striking. In East Asia, China is managing risk, trying to slow alignment against it, especially as US influence deepens under renewed strategic pressure. In Europe, China is investing in stability, working with pragmatic partners like Ireland to prevent a complete rupture with the EU. Different regions, different tactics. But the goal is the same: protect China's strategic space in an increasingly fragmented world, not through confrontation everywhere, but through selective cooperation where it still works. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.